I've been resting in bed because I slipped on a puddle of water and happened to have fractured my toe. And the story I'm telling you is the story of defeated tranquility. In a moment when you find that your physicality has been altered and is no longer working in the way that you expect it to work, it's almost like this energy washes across your field of uselessness. Like, what am I supposed to do now without a working big toe? And it's obviously could have been much worse, but in that moment, I decided to tape it up with my second and third toe and middle toe to give it a rest, and to heal in peace and stability, and to come to terms with the acceptance that I'm no longer going to be in commission for at least a day or so. And I wanted to do that to be able to then heal and go back to being my normal self, as I am responsible for taking care of 4 little human beings that rely on me. And during the time that I've been out of commission, my daughter stepped up, my son stepped up, my other son stepped up. They all stepped up to help me with the baby, help me with housework, help me with cooking and cleaning and feeding and taking care of themselves, in addition to taking care of everything that I would have been able to take care of had I been well and on my feet. And the reason why I tell this story is that life's ebbs and flows are somewhat to be expected, and yet the unexpected does occur in certain occurrences. These unexpected circumstances can bring you onto your butt, as sometimes not within all occurrences, but the physicality of our body can be affected temporarily or negatively, depending on your emotional stability. But I'm here to tell you that regardless of external circumstances, you are internally built to last through these times, to last past these times. And I'm well aware that it's just a fractured toe and it could have been like so much worse, but the ebb and flow of my story is not dependent on whether or not it was a fractured toe or like the loss of a limb or an arm. The point of the story that I tell is that the human consciousness, the human mind, the human spirit was built in such a way through and by God's consciousness to fulfill all the needs that you can ever think of in a way that transcends your physicality. And I say this as some people are born without limbs. Some people never had a chance to walk. Some people never had a chance to see, yet they live a fruitful and fulfilling life. And to be grateful for each and every aspect of our being that we are used to having or not used to having versus wanting or never really wanted but still have, is a practice that all light workers will begin to see themselves step into the essence of as this reality field begins to melt down, begins melting down into a boiling pot of darkness. And my message is not as gloom as it seems, as the breaking down of this reality field has already began to happen on the Middle Eastern front of Gaia herself over the lands of angelic frequency that Yeshua had anchored down a little over 2,000 years ago. And I tell this story knowing I only have 10 minutes within this video to spill out as much as I can. But within the physicality of the placement that you sit, just know that sometimes you may find yourself to be down physically. But emotionally, what gets us through the day is our mental and spiritual capacity to rely on an energy field that can only be described as source consciousness, in which we are all interlinked within and without, within this reality field too. And if we all find ourselves in the depths of such disparity, in the depths of such denial, in the depths of such treacherous defeats, then all the best to us, and all the best for it, all the well for it, as the well that we draw from is the darkness within and without this reality field. And I speak of the darkness as a well because a never-ending well is just that. Never-ending energetic frequency of darkness intermingled with brightness that you can ever imagine or envision to be true. And that is the well, that is the entirety of Gaia, our planet Earth. And as we decided to fractal into her field, to live, to breathe, to extend our limbs within and without her field, to experience these emotions of darkness, these treacherous unforgiveness vibes that we sit in, this worrisome energy that we find ourselves to be stepping into every once in a while, melts away every other day within and without this well that we draw from. And every time we draw from this well of darkness, we come into a realization that we've never known another well so deep in despair, and so wide in coherence, and so bright in the light that it shines into the darkness that we perceive to be so dark. And the conundrum is real, that you may not have been able to follow me until this point, but I promise that this is leading somewhere. The brightness that is so intrinsically connected to your heart chakra, your soul chakra, is that in which you believed, ever shall be known to be the darkness anchored down into this reality field. And that is because we created this field to experience this darkness, to draw from this well, to draw so deeply and sink so deeply into the darkness of our consciousness of this field, so that we can one day come to a realization that the darkness had never been there this whole entire time, that we've been welding in our misery, that we've been sitting in our pain, that we've been projecting our frequency of endlessness within the darkness onto that of our neighbors, picking up the frequency of war into the darkness onto the consciousness of our statesmen and our neighboring countries. And that the darkness had been placed there, had been planted there all along by source consciousness, by your consciousness, by my consciousness, by our collective consciousness, to be able to grow and learn from that very darkness that we draw from, that will ultimately give us the ultimate deliverance into a brightness so bright, into a forgiveness so wide, into a kindness so steeped without distortion fields. And once we awaken to this reality field that I speak of drawing from this well of darkness to be able to awaken to the brightest light within the quantum verse, and coming to utter coherence with the understanding of the reason why we perceived it to be so dark to begin with, that is when the ascension will merge our frequency into a frequency of forever arching Yeshua's frequency, of the angelic frequency that we live in. And this angelic frequency is set to descend down deeper into this well. Had it been there all along, which it has not, in perception. But I'd like to tell you in the less than 1 minute of this video that the frequency that you perceive to be so dark has always been a part of you, to be a part of I, to be a part of the all within this well of distortional fields that I call the angelic realm. As the energies that travel down from the angelic realm fuels the darkness within this well of the Luciferian energies that emerged initially from this realm. So past this darkness, past this distortion field, past deep inside this well, you will find yourself emerging within the angelic realm, within the energies, soaking up the energies of the angelic realm at the end point perspective, of the not point perspective, of the ascension